I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another bonus episode on Shameless Sex. We usually only do one bonus episode a month as a gift to our listeners, as our bonus episodes are ad-free. This is based on some requests that we have received from you, from some reviews stating you do not like the ads. And we listen, but guess what? We have to have the ads because podcasting costs money and time, and we want to keep it free for all of you. So we have ads, but we offer you bonus episodes so that you don't have to deal with them on the occasion as a gift from our hearts. And we are also doing something where for our other episodes, our normal episodes, we are now putting in the show notes. We're putting the time for when the interview starts. We usually open the podcast with an intro. We answer sex questions there. We give information about our next teaching gigs and maybe some updates on our lives. And that's where some of the ads might be. And then we go into the interview after that. So you will now be able to see when the interview will be. You may fast forward if you're someone who doesn't want to hear the sex questions and all the other information about our lives. So that is another gift to you, something that we decided we would start doing based on your feedback. We listen to everything that you have to say. We can't please everyone, but we try our best. If you have any feedback that you must share with us, feel free to email us at shamelesssexpodcast@gmail.com. This bonus episode is with Private Parts Unknown. That is a podcast that's actually in our podcast family. You hear in our intro, we're part of a podcast family called Pleasure Podcasts. It's a whole bunch of sex-positive podcasts that are all in a wonderful little network. We love it. So these two women from Private Parts Unknown are awesome. We get a little political in this one. We talk about some things that might not always be the shiniest, but are, in my opinion, very important conversations. And there's some juicy stuff in there too. So be prepared maybe to have your buttons pushed, or maybe not. Maybe you'll be like, you know what? That was an easy episode. Who knows? Dive in, have an open mind, see what happens. So about Private Parts Unknown. Private Parts Unknown is the podcast formerly known as Reality Bites, and it is a comedy sex travel podcast uncovering stories of love and sexuality around the world. Best friends Courtney and Sophia bring you along as they trapeze from country to country, exploring sex, relationships, dating, and different types of food poisoning. Their podcast is available on all of the podcast apps as well as on privatepartsunknown.com. They are fun, they're playful, they're hilarious. They are also comedians. So this should be a fun one and at times maybe informative and heavy and thought-provoking. So without further ado, let's dive on in. All right, everyone, episode time. And we love when we get to record with other podcasters. It is so much fun. And they even had an extra microphone, so we all have a mic.
And it's in person, which is even better just because it's like energy exchange. And they're two very beautiful podcasting peeps.
Intelligent humans. Funny. There's a comedian
I meant
here.
inside and out.
I know you did. And
but mostly outside,
I was
right?
going to say externally is really all we care about.
Yeah.
We're right back at you. You guys are very good looking.
Oh, thanks.
Just on the outside.
Just
on the inside, Take it or leave it.
My inside is dark and ugly. Okay, so you're from the Private Parts Unknown podcast, formerly the Reality Bites podcast. This is Sophia and Courtney. You're part of our same podcast network now. We are all part of the Pleasure Podcast Network. Tell our listeners how you got to be where you are today in this journey, what your podcast is all about. What is Private Parts Unknown?
So the podcast started as Reality Bites. Also, I know you were in a single phase when you started your podcast.
Yeah, we both were.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you were too. Oh, exciting.
Yeah. So the podcast, mainly started out of my singlehood and just being frustrated, and then has gone through an evolution of we did 4 seasons of Reality Bites. The last one was with Sophia, and I co-hosted with our friend Dave, who's also a comedian, Dave Rankin. Super funny. And then we were like, oh man, we'd done so many local interviews, and we were like, how can we want to expand in some way. We want to learn more stories and go different places. So that's kind of the new bent of the podcast. And we went to Helsinki earlier this year and have been exploring lots of kind of location-based stories, and then also kind of socially conscious stories when we're back in LA. So we just did a 3-part series with men talking about their personal experiences with abortion, which was so cathartic for everyone involved.
Sure.
I think.
Do you just find do you interview them like on the street, or do you find people before that will talk with you?
Well, once we decided to do it, we actually debated on how to get people, but then we were like, no, you know what, like, let's do this. So I just we posted statuses on our social media being like, you don't have to use your name, but we're looking for men who are willing to talk about their experiences about their abortions. And we
actually got a big response.
Way more responses than we could include.
And mostly positive. People wanted to be a part of it. Did you get the
no haters?
No haters.
Awesome.
All the men were just like so excited to tell somebody. Some of these Facebook messages were so long. Like it was clear that they just needed to tell someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think you share this in that series. I'm sure I listened to one of them, but a lot of the penis owning individuals who have experienced being a part of an abortion, right? They don't really feel heard, or like they're we aren't hearing their stories. It's closeted.
You know what's so funny is we hear so much from men on the super conservative side about why abortion should be restricted and illegal and whatever. And we so rarely hear from progressive guys about their own experiences or about why that they think we should have the right to get an abortion. And it was so nice to be in the same room and hear these stories, and also hear some of those men articulate, like, I don't normally feel like it's my place to talk about this and advocate for this. Yeah. And us being like, no, we really need you.
Because the conservative men think it's their place, like what Courtney was saying. Yeah. Nobody out there is wondering, like, should we be regulating women's vaginas? They're like, no, I have a right to say this. But the men that are, pro-choice are not out here feeling like they're entitled to a piece of the story.
I know, it's ironic, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
That was probably really, I guess, empowering, but also I would say freeing for a lot of the folks who got to share their stories, and it's a hard situation for everyone. I think. I mean, as someone who has had an abortion and has talked on the podcast about it, has received one Instagram message from a hater. Yes, full on hater who had to listen to the podcast. Yeah, I got blocked right away. Yeah, you are gone the minute you do that. It's cyberbullying, and it is passive aggressive, and I think it's pathetic. But at any rate, I do know that it's hard for someone who actually experienced the abortion, but on the other side too, I get it. Like I get that there's other emotions and things there. So I really appreciated seeing that you did this. And then why did it turn into 3? You just had endless stories to share?
Yeah, we wound up talking to 5 guys.
All in Helsinki.
No, this was back in the States.
Okay.
Yeah. That was another series that we did, the Helsinki series, but
the way we broke it up into 3 parts kind of ended up being what they talked about, kind of dictated it, right, Courtney?
So the first part is with our friend Matt Monroe, who's a comedian, And his Facebook / Instagram post actually inspired the series because we were like, holy shit, he posted about his whole story.
Oh, that's the episode I listened to.
Yeah. And we were like, how come we've never seen a man do this before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he had the most kind of standard story, right? It was the most, I think for penis owners that have had abortions, his story was maybe one of the more relatable stories. Mm-hmm. And then for the second part, we talked to two men where religion played an interesting role.
So it was kind of a religion-oriented episode. One man was a youth pastor, and that's when he got his girlfriend pregnant, and it literally changed his whole, like, the course of his life. His
and
religion,
relationship to God.
his job, everything. You know, his relationship to God. And then the second man was brought up Catholic, and even though he, like, stopped being Catholic, he like ended up doing penance with these prenatal vitamins that he kind of set for himself.
Oh, interesting.
It was really wild hearing that story too.
That was how the shame manifested for him. He's in part 2, but that's an incredible episode because I feel like that's such a clear representation about how so many people feel, and then they try to stifle it down, and
then how that shame comes up and how people deal with it. And he did this for like a year or so.
Yeah.
And then the third installment is like the most heartbreaking one. We talked to a man who basically had to make a decision whether or not to have another severely disabled child.
That's a hard one.
Heavy. Yeah,
and
another guy in that episode who hadn't wanted his girlfriend to get an abortion, and she did, and then he ultimately was so grateful. But yeah, the gentleman Sophie is talking about, it is heartbreaking because it's also, I think, you know, it's easy for us to talk about abortion, you know, under more like, and think about a more carefree scenario like Matt's, and maybe even closer to I also have had an abortion and closer to my own experience. And then when we hear this man's story, you're like, oh, that's a circumstance we're not even thinking about, and we shouldn't maybe put these restrictions on things without realizing the crazy implications that they could have.
And also,
what else is at stake? Yeah.
And also how dynamic it is, right? That there's this idea you were talking about. Matt's was kind of more like, oh yeah, we were hooking up, and then she got pregnant, and you know, stories like that. But that there's actually so many more different types of experiences or occurrences of how this is coming about. I mean, some of these abortion laws, aren't they still saying that you can't,
Alabama,
even if you've been raped, like it's from even from
in
incest.
Chile, if you get an abortion, even if you have a child that may be severely disabled, or if you get raped or there's incest, any of those things, it's punishable by death. They will murder you. You will,
if you get an abortion under those circumstances,
any circumstance, you are not allowed to get an abortion.
No matter what.
Even if the mother's going to die in the childbirth, they want the baby to be born.
That's
rather
straight out of the Handmaid's Tale.
Well,
Hulu
divorce was
show.
only made legal in Chile in 2006, I believe.
There you go.
Catholics.
Yeah.
Women are literally fighting for bodily autonomy and have been for a long time. And like American women, I think, are closer to having more rights than fewer rights. But when these things happen and roll our rights back, like the heartbeat bills and all of that stuff, then, you know, I think we get much closer to the reality of like Chile. We're like, oh, women are required to bury their miscarriages. Yeah. This is getting into Chile territory.
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. That'll really fuck.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why I think that we think it's so important to talk about it, right? I mean, I grew up Catholic too, and I literally didn't talk about it or tell anyone outside of the providers,
right?
For over 2 years. It was just something I carried around and just felt this crazy amount of shame. And I'm a pretty liberal person. So when all this starts to happen, I'm like, oh, I almost feel like it's my obligation to be like, no, you know me. I mean, literally that's a hashtag, but you do know me, and you know so many of us, and it's not something anyone should be killed for or
judged in general.
I
mean, judgment's so easy for us to do. We all do it probably even unconsciously because it's just part of human nature. And that's the thing. You don't know someone's story and you don't know what they've gone through. And I know that there's a lot of these, I would say conservative folks, but even some that aren't so conservative. I have friends that are anti-abortion and I'm like, are you kidding? And especially penis owners that I know this is part of like, helping them be able to tell their story, but some of them that are anti-abortion, and I'm like, you have no right to have an opinion.
So angry.
I know, and I do get heated, and then I just realize that it is up to each individual to make their own decisions. When it's not your body, then back the fuck off.
Was it people wanting to control other people's bodies so much? Like, why do you care so much about controlling someone else's body? Like, what is wrong in your life that you have to be so driven and like power hungry to put all of your ideas on someone else?
Power is a hell of a drug, honestly.
Yeah, they're high on it. Yeah,
and also piggybacking off of what you were saying, just because abortion is something that, again, we've made a women's issue. It's not a women's issue because it takes two people to make a pregnancy. Actually, really the man did it. So
you with the penis.
But yeah, that's just something to think about, that if you're a liberal man who's listening to this, or a man that have had an experience with abortion and you felt like it's not your place to talk about it, we would really encourage you to do that and like use the hashtag #him so that people will,
or just in your general life, just be willing to share that, because it was a powerful experience for us to make that, and I think we need more of that.
And whenever men are like, oh, I want to be an ally, I'm an ally, like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, this is how you fucking be an ally. You have to, if your dude friend is saying some shit that's crazy about abortion, you say, you know what, dude, I actually had one, and this is why, and this is how it went. Maybe next time you consider that before you say something. And one of the people we interviewed, the former youth pastor, he said this really like powerful thing where he was like, I was really against abortion, but I had zero experience with sex, with pregnancy, with anything before that opinion. I formed that opinion. So,
and he grew up in the culture where, and he said this, that women are abortion, or how did he say
he
it?
was like, oh, I just thought growing up that women just
go
into the baby killing factory and they're just like, here we go, this was easy.
Oh, wow.
He's like, I didn't know, what toll an abortion actually takes on a woman, either physically or mentally or anything. He's like, and then we were talking about, they don't teach you about abortion in school. They do not teach you what happens to a body.
They might teach you about it in church, that those women are killing babies. But
I don't think it's legal. I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm sure each state's different, but I don't think they can talk about abortion at all in schools because I think it's because it's a lot of state funds and they don't support those types of things. And I don't know exactly the laws, and I know every state's different, but I don't think it's legal. It's like church and state, and then there's other things that are separate.
Well, I think that if your state has not taken the grant, and this is what I knew a couple of years ago, so I don't know how it's changed, but if your state has not taken the grant to opt out of comprehensive sex ed, meaning you're saying we're going to have comprehensive sex ed, we're not going to take your extra money, dear government, then I think abortion can be in there. But it's when you actually take the grant, and this is years ago, so this has probably changed.
But I'm sure most states take the grant.
A lot of them take the grant, and then they're not teaching, and they're actually teaching abstinence only education. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot that
has been proven does not work.
And showing birthing videos about babies coming out. Like I saw a birthing video, and that's why I'm like, I'm never doing that.
Yeah. I saw
no, thank you.
The best bumper sticker, everyone. I was driving on the street and there was a car in front of me and it said, hate the traffic, support birth control. I was like, yes, this is
that's good.
Yeah, less humans. You're complaining about all the humans.
I talk about that too, and I feel like people think I'm some kind of like asshole anti-human, and I'm like, no, I am pro awesome humans, but I think we need to all just be a little bit more mindful about, procreation. Like it takes a lot.
Let's trim the fat, huh?
Yeah. Let's trim that fat. I mean, our population has like more than it's 7.6 billion. I think it's 7.7, and we just talked about 7.6 like a couple months ago.
And we're ruining our planet.
Yeah.
So I
We're
mean,
totally-
Amazon's burning. Things are going great.
It's just
Yeah.
consume, little consumer, and that whole mentality is really sad to me. And we live in Santa Cruz, which is a pretty conscious place, and for the most part, I still see so many people over consuming and living beyond like the plastic forks and plastic plates. I'm like, get that out of my house.
Yeah, well, I would just want to say, if someone is an anti-abortionist, but you ever drive around or walk around and complain about how there's too many humans out there and your things aren't the way they used to be because there's too many people, then you might want to ask yourself some questions. Just saying.
And also listen to part two of our
abortion series, and also they did a Freakonomics episode about the crime rate and how after Roe v. Wade, it correlated where truly the numbers, the crime totally diminished.
When abortion was legalized.
After abortion was legal, after like in the 80s, after those kids came of age and would be at their highest crime peak, there was less because there were fewer unwanted
pregnancies.
Yeah, fewer children that parents couldn't provide for.
That grow up in trauma. There's the other piece. Trauma is angry people that are doing some not so wonderful things out there, and violence and hate. They're not doing that just because they're having a hard day or because they felt like it. It's because they have some deep hurt, and then they don't have love or guidance or whatever that is, and
super limited resources.
Yeah, super limited resources or a really scary home environment, and so it's all related. All of it is really connected. I want to stay open-minded even to the closed-minded folks to hear their sides and their opinions, and I often find that they're just not asking deeper questions. And this is a generalization, but my advice to the world, including what I do with myself and had to learn to do, is not to just believe everything I think or what I've been told, to ask questions. Like, I have a feeling, I have a thought, why is this here? Versus it's here, so it must be true. And I think that there's a great divide in the world between those different ways of thinking and being, and one of them can be really hurtful, and the other one isn't easy, but it's allows for more spaciousness to move, to not get stuck in these limiting beliefs.
I love that. I think that's so. I find that I have to stay humble to all of my thoughts and opinions, because think of the trans movement in the last.
Dude, in the 90s, I was saying retarded like it was my job.
I know.
Yeah.
On Sex,
whatever you
a
want.
lot of stuff has changed, and all of us are.
On Sex and the City episodes, they were saying tranny not that long ago.
Wow, yeah.
I think still now people say midget on TV all the time.
That's still even outside of comedy, they're still saying.
I think they say it. I heard it very recently.
I've heard, I've also heard someone that I was like, you should know better.
Yeah.
But I think that you do always have to just. Or just that's the most helpful state of mind, is just to ask questions and be open to the possibility that you're probably wrong about something.
You don't know everything. Yeah, stay open to that. And April and I have learned in our podcast world as well, from our sex education backgrounds, a lot of the terminology that we were taught to use 10 years ago has shifted and changed. 10 years ago, we were taught that you say male-bodied and female-bodied, and that was more inclusive. And now you're like, oh, yeah, some people with penises aren't using the term male. And so what the other thing that that we've had to do as part of being humble students, even though we sound like we are mostly the teachers, is to accept the feedback from people and to strive to just do better and be better. And part of that is owning when we're like, oh yeah, things have shifted, things have changed, or there's a new educational piece around language. There was another recent one that we were changed.
I just listened to this American Life episode, and I guess saying Jew is no longer it's not acceptable anymore. You say Jewish. So
when people ask me that, I'm always like, I don't love it. They're like, is it okay if I say it? I'm like, I don't love it.
Yeah.
But because it's just aggressive.
Yeah. I lived in Israel, and I was, I hung out with amazing amounts of Jewish folks, and they would always be like, but I'm Jew, and they'd say things, and I'm like, oh, that it didn't feel right to me either. I was like, I feel like that's like definitely
it's just been said as a slur too many times. I think.
Yeah.
So that
it's just you can't say you fucking Jewish, but you can say you fucking Jew, and then it feels horrible.
Then it feels
Yeah.
terrible. And
I just learned that the other day, though. I was like, that's good to know.
And we have listeners who have sent us emails about thanking us for staying on top of the changes in the language. And we've had listeners say that we're irritating the fuck out of them by all of our political correctness. And we have to say, we can't please everyone, but what we can try to do is just be really sensitive. And when folks are making requests for us to say things that feel more loving and respectful, we're going to fucking do that.
Yeah. It doesn't cost anything to be extra kind.
No.
So when you have a choice between being kind and not, like, why would you not? If someone's like, this makes me upset.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not hurting you or anyone directly. There's no one's
Doesn't
hurting.
cost you anything.
100%. And then on the flip side of that, I think since we are in this time of call out culture, it's important when people make a mistake and then they say that they're sorry or they learn from it
to not cancel everybody.
to not cancel everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
except for Louis C.K. Fuck you, dude. You still in the doghouse?
Oh yeah, he's in the doghouse for a long time.
Oh, I've just been watching that show on Showtime about Roger Ailes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, I haven't seen.
Goodness.
Who's Roger Ailes?
He was the Fox News basically creator that worked with
Rupert
Murdoch, and he was basically taking blowjobs and
Ground Zero of Me Too.
Oh yeah, it was, and he passed away a few years ago. But I at the show, it irks like deep within my system to watch it. It's such great acting. What's his name? Russell Crowe is Roger Ailes, and
he looks so disgusting.
He looks so disgusting, and Sienna Miller is like his wife. But it's just incredible to see how far we've come. That was in the 90s. He just that was in like 2015 or 16, where he helped Trump get into office.
Of course,
he did. But that was such a commonality amongst just society, and we just have to be mindful of the reason I bring it up is because yes, this guy did a lot of very awful things and had a lot of power for a long time. But we have to be so mindful about the media that's out there and why we form the opinions we have, because what we're seeing or reading or whatever it is, and maybe take an approach of a wider spectrum of not just, because media a lot of times it's just fed by larger conglomerates that have more money that forces them to go a different direction. So if you're getting messages about abortion or whatever class of people or whatever it is, just start to ask questions, as you were saying, Amy, and
question us.
Don't be like a lamb to slaughter.
Now.
Yeah,
if you're like, something in me isn't fully on board for what you're saying, knock yourself out. Question us. Like we're not preaching absolute truth. We might be saying it's like a meta experience.
I do not have a God complex by any means. I'm always like, I am humbled every fucking day of my life by
Critical
things
thinking
I learned.
is everybody's friend.
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
Because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
I like that. In your cute voice.
This is fun. We get political. I like getting political. And abortion is a heavy, heated topic. And
I know it's not the sexiest thing for us to come on. We also do fun, sex positive stuff on our podcast.
Our last episode is about a sugar baby, and the episode before that, a man
about
talks
gang
about
bangs.
organizing gang
Yeah.
bangs.
Oh my God. I thought about being a sugar baby one time in my life.
On like a sugar baby website?
On a sugar baby website.
I could totally do it.
I was
I think I could too. I was like, should I leave my husband?
Right? You're like, I did, because I was like, some of those women aren't even having to touch the dude. They're just like, I'm a companion. I'm like, well, you just get to fly in his fancy jet and he buys you fancy handbags, but I never could do that. I'm too much of a
here's
not what you think either.
I know. It's so interesting because it's like, it really made us think, because Sophia's been with her dude for a long time, but he's very successful. My dude is also very successful. Like, we're in the basement of the condo that he bought, and
we record in the house that my man bought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so for me to say that is different, really,
yes. Yeah.
How
is
it
problematic because it's not that different. He's totally Venmo'd me money because I needed money for something before.
And you have sex.
And we have sex.
Yeah, and they exchange emotions. Same with sugar baby and sugar daddy relationships that our friend was telling us about. These men have been in her life for several years.
She has feelings for them.
She has feelings for them. She's also been able to buy a place in New York because of them. That's fucking dope.
I did
what
it all
stand-up
wrong.
comedian could do that? You know, it's like
Yeah.
we're already priced out of like the fucking job we're trying to do by like many thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So it's amazing when you see somebody who's able to make it work, and all she had to do was like own her body. Mm-hmm. That's an incredible story.
And I'm not pitching it as like
We're
the
not saying
end all for
become
everyone.
a sugar baby.
No.
Again,
it's
you're
not
saying
safe for everyone.
It's more
blah,
dynamic
blah.
than people think
Yes,
it is. You think
exactly.
it happens one way. And the podcast I recently did with Aaron Alexander, the flirting episode, he said on there, he's like, it was asked me what I thought about sex work, and I said what I thought about it, and then he said, I said, what do you think? He said, I think we're all engaging it to some degree.
Yes.
You know, we're all engaging some sort of exchange, and it might not be an actual money for sex exchange, but there's dynamics that are happening where we are offering up some sort of energy for another sort of energy, and a lot of times money is a part of that. But we just have this very specific
Money
idea of how
is energy.
it is. It's
It
just another
really
form of
is.
it.
So
Gems,
that's why I
crystals.
make it rain. I make it rain now. Yeah. Man, I do it. And I'm usually the sugar mama, P.S. Damn it.
Yeah. Well, things could change soon.
Respect.
I'm going to ask you, we have 2 sex questions that I would love for you two to answer with us.
Yes.
So, right. This one, because anal's the first one. I know we have a couple anal fans in this room.
Oh, yeah.
Whoop, whoop. So this is being recorded in Anal August, but when this is released, it'll probably no longer be Anal August. But go listen to our Anal August
it's
episode.
anal August somewhere.
All the
All
time.
year long.
So this person says, I have always been quite terrified to do anal, and my feeble attempts thus far have not been very good. I think I have always tried to do too much too fast, and the pain scared me away. I'm avoiding it, and I've told my fiance when we were dating that I swear I would do it or try it on our honeymoon if he asked me to marry him, and now the time has come. I'm so nervous. I have 4 months to get ready before our honeymoon. Get your ass ready. I'm so nervous that I've never been able to get my own finger in my ass. Since I admire you guys so much and I like a challenge, I was wondering if any chance you guys would be willing to give me some sort of challenge or plan to get me ready for this adventure. We have 4 months.
That's a long time.
4
Yeah,
months,
that's
ladies.
plenty.
We can do this.
Yeah, we
right?
can do this. Yeah.
I have one note,
What you
which
got?
is like the first bunch of times I had tried, and it was unsuccessful and painful.
Mm-hmm.
No one told me you have to use like extreme amounts of lube.
Yeah. The ass
People
is not
do not
lubricating.
tell you that.
Silicone
Just-
lube is even
Oh, yeah,
the
we
better.
brought them a bottle
We
of
did. We
Uber
brought you
lube.
some Uber lube.
Oh,
So
we get another
Uber
bottle, 2 bottles.
lube.
We have another
That's what
bottle.
I'm talking
Yeah, we'll bring
about.
this
A
back.
strong German word in front of lube that makes me feel comfortable about how fucking slick this shit is going to get.
Yeah.
So number 1, you're going to want to be swimming in that stuff. Okay.
it's true.
Yeah.
Courtney,
And
you
then,
want to go?
I would agree with that because I also had a unsuccessful attempt or 2 before I really got into the anal play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think some people would probably say work your way up or whatever, but that's not the way that I really operate. I would just lube her up real good and.
I also feel like there's sex toys that I use that helped me.
Oh, really?
You can get so you can get these rubber dildos where one
Silicone,
end,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
rubber.
I just say rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause-
Same, yeah.
Silicone's
Silicone.
body
Yeah.
safe.
We're not
yeah.
professionals.
Yeah, that's all good. No, I want to hear your personal experiences.
So
though.
like, okay, I have this silicone double-sided dildo. One side is like a thicker, girthier dick, and the other side is a very long,
Like a
but
tapered.
getting thinner, tapered situation. The tapered guy, lube the shit out of that tapered guy, and then just kind of start probing because that works
Really?
way better tapered than just going in with a thick guy.
yeah.
And I'm guessing she's probably not at butt plug level.
It sounds like not even
So-
a finger has been able to go. in the
Yeah,
ass
so I
quite
think
yet.
lube it up, and then I think leverage you need because it's harder with a finger.
Yeah.
So get that like tapered guy, lube it up, and then just go for it. And I would say try to be also stimulating your clit at the same time because then you're already having pleasure going.
It's
And
relaxing.
you
You're
relax
used-
your butthole.
Yeah, you're used to that kind of sexy feeling when it's clit related, but there is lots of pleasure to be had.
Around the corner.
There's
in your anus.
so
I
much.
think trying to stick your own finger in your butt by yourself is automatically you're in a weird position and you
Yes.
kind of want to clench
It's tense
and
and
it's
not good.
tense. Yeah, and I would say that like toys or playing like with a toy if you're doing solo play to prep up, just like using that and the the opening and then of the anus, and then kind of slowly working your way. But lube, yes. But I think that to just breathe and even in the shower would probably with a toy, because then it's like constantly being wet and you can just really relax and bear down.
Did she say in there whether she was going to play around with her dude before then?
So what's happening is that in 4 months, they're actually going to have penetrative anal for the first time. And she's barely had anything in her ass because she can't get a finger in there. And so she wants a game plan on how to get ready for this adventure. And what came to me is like, you don't need 4 months to get ready for this.
No.
You know,
What if his penis is, or I think,
sorry, I cut that out. There's cis,
okay.
yeah,
is
cis
his penis
man,
huge?
yeah, cis man.
if his penis is super huge, that could take some
That's a
time.
problem.
And
So
that's why
that's
you
the
get
thing.
the double-sided dildo.
You
with
practice.
one end tapered, one end a thick guy.
Yeah.
And you just work your way up.
This person will have to work up if he, but I don't know the size. She
We didn't get the dimensions,
but
or the size.
if it's
yeah,
above
but you
average,
can, I mean,
yeah.
they have butt plug sets that are small, medium, large, and you
Yeah.
can start working with the smaller one. And when that's easy, you go to the medium.
Fun
then you
Factory
go to the
has
large.
good, really good ones.
Yeah, the booty plug, BOOTIE. And they have it at purepleasureshop.com. You get 15% off with the coupon code ShamelessX. So you can practice with those things. So I would say, like, just have a night where you're like, all right, it's ass night with myself, and I'm going to get this double dildo of some sort, or plug set and some nice lube, and just spend some time like really getting to know my ass. And you know,
Get
it's
a
hard.
little tipsy, girl.
Yeah,
Take
have a
yourself
glass
for
of
a
wine
date.
or two. Yeah, really enjoy yourself, romance yourself, and take your time and really get to know how long does it take your ass to relax and open up, and what does it feel like, and like what do you need, and how does breath work into there, and it's just like really get to know your own ass as if you had someone else getting to know your ass. Like, don't just wait for someone else to do the doing.
I'm also going to offer another piece to this human, because my journey with anal too was tricky at first, and I was like, nope. And I really wanted to experience it. I used to sell the shit out of butt plugs when I worked at Pure Pleasure. And I was like, I know that this would be great. And even when I helped develop some butt plugs for a company, and I was like, but I still haven't had anal. And it was really, you know, for me, I felt like I was
imposter.
I
like
was,
a fraud.
the imposter syndrome setting in. And I was like, for fuck's sake. I mean, I've had fingers in my butt, had tongues, but never, you know, full penetration. So what I want to offer, the advice piece, is that it is a little uncomfortable. It's not going to be super pleasurable every step of the way. After entry, that's when the pleasure starts happening. And adding the vibrator part to the vulva for stimulation is super important. I've also, and we shared this when we taught a workshop. We did it was an orgasm workshop. And we talked about, anal stimulation. And one thing that's really amazing with anal stimulation is that you can get more G-spot sensation, because it's like puts pressure. So if you even put your own fingers, or your partner puts their fingers in your vaginal canal, you can have an orgasm. I mean, there's a lot going on, but you can even use a vibrator that has, an internal, external portion. And that in general really helps relax. And then it becomes a really nice sensation. Just make sure you're relaxed and chill, and make sure that you know that there will be some discomfort. If it's extreme pain and you're at like an 8 or at 9 or a 10, back away, relax,
Add more lube,
and then try again. But know that the initial entry is going to be hard, and don't do the old in out, and never go ass to vag. Boom.
Yeah, you're going to get a UTI, so be careful about that.
or a yeast infection.
Yeah.
Either way, not good.
All amazing advice. I would also say you don't have to wait the 4 months and then unveil your ass to your partner. You can include him or her or whoever on him. It sounds like him.
Yeah.
On the journey, and that might be fun for you guys too.
And then maybe it'll be even crazier and more, or I don't want to say crazy in a bad way, crazy in a good way, where it's like intense and passionate and amazing on the honeymoon, because you already, explored I'm sorry to bring it back, but when I was trying to lose my anal virginity, and I'm using lose it because I really wanted to, I had a whole anal kit I was taking with I had it planned. I was like,
you did this.
I kind of did. And I had a kit with these underwear that were made in Paris pussy by this designer who I met, and she gave him to me, and it was like formed a bow so he could untie it. And then I had like a little clit vibe, and I had a bunch of lube, and then some other stimulating stuff, and like a feather tickler. I don't know. Anyway, I never fucking used a thing, and I was just like, no, I just want to do this. Like I'd bring it on every trip we went on. Never used it. Came home one day, my partner had purchased a truck, and that was the day I lost my anal virginity. He was all stoked, and he bought like it's this amazing new truck, and he's so excited. And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling your vibe. Let's do this.
Like, I need that truck
in
dick.
the truck. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
That's
guys start
happened.
playing around, it might happen even before your honeymoon. Who knows?
Yeah, sometimes planning isn't the best way to go.
Yeah.
You guys ready for another question?
Yeah.
All right.
I wanted to talk about anal all day.
Well, we have episodes for that we just recorded, and if someone wants to go learn more, go check out. I don't know when we released. It was early August,
I think it was like
2019.
in the 110, 116 area.
Yeah, go get your anal on, because we could talk about that forever. Okay, this one might stir up some emotions, or already did me a little bit. My husband and I are on our 1 year into marriage, and we have been together for 4.5 years total and have one child together, but 3 other children, so we have a blended family. We are both 30, and when we first got together, we fucked like rabbits. Then I got pregnant. My sex drive decreased tremendously, and it's been almost 3 years since we had our daughter, and I have gotten it back somewhat. I always want to fuck, but we both work very demanding jobs, long hours, and both get 1 day a week off. His sex drive has decreased, at least it seems that way. I can be super horny and ready to fuck and throw myself at him, and he just acts like, whatever. But when he wants the pussy, I have to be ready immediately, and I thrive off of the foreplay. I need to be turned on in lots of ways. He just drives right into me, and I won't be wet at all, and I tell him that I'm not ready, and he gets mad at me. Then we end up not having sex, but he ends up watching porn and jacking off and pleasuring himself. But I'm left high. I know, I knew you were going to
I hate him.
I'm left high and dry. Insert mad mama here. Granted, we have 4 kids, but is there something I can do to get us both on the same wavelength for sex?
I don't like violence, but no.
I was nodding until we got to the end where
I
it was
know.
like, and then he would get mad at me.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
You're like,
I'm in a
I'm
long-term
hurting.
relationship, and it's hard to make time for sex, and you're like sometimes like 2 ships passing in the night, and you know.
And your body's not always ready.
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids. That's energy sucking. And if you're working full time, are you fucking kidding me?
And
But to get mad at your partner,
That's so fucked
No.
up.
when
Don't
when
do
you
that.
say, yeah, your pussy's not wet and you're not ready, and then you speak to that and they get mad at you, and then they end up, and then, I mean, of course, so maybe he still wants to pleasure himself, and like, that's all good if he wants to do that, but it sounds like you're kind of like abandoned and also like in trouble and for speaking what's true for you.
and it doesn't sound like, oh, then we both like masturbated
Yeah.
in a sexy way next to each other while watching porn.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like he like was like, fuck you, I'm gonna get off with
Yeah.
these women on the fucking TV, and I don't think that's right.
It was, and it's about. There's also this. When I ask for sex, I get a no. But here's one thing I would like to say. So there's this thing about. It's when he wants the pussy, I have to be ready immediately and thrive off of foreplay. I'm assuming that more so is that is more of it is related to how he's showing up and the anger that he gets mad when you reject him, or when you say I need more foreplay, or whatever what's happening there. And there's some compliant sex in here because you're actually doing it. Like you're and again, maybe you feel like you don't have a choice, but I'm not hearing that there's actual like it doesn't feel like it's a non-consensual act of sexual violence. It sounds like there's some scary shit in terms of you not wanting to deal with the repercussions of this person that's getting mad at you and shaming you and making you feel bad. I totally get that. Like, that's fucking scary. And that's why I've had a lot of compliant sex too. And not just that reason, but for other reasons. But like, stop having compliant sex. Even if your partner is going to be mad or pouty or won't speak to you or won't fuck you, they can go fuck themselves literally and go take care of you, because every time you go and have this compliant sex where your body is like getting a no and not ready, it's causing little bits of trauma in you. It's like you're not tending to you, and like there's a deeper issue going on here in your relationship related to communication and taking care of each other, especially most so him with you and you with yourself.
Your partner
Yes.
should want to pleasure you, not just pleasure themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And it seems like if he's not wanting to do that when he has sex with you, then that's not the right thing. Sex is supposed to be both people wanting the other person to feel good.
Yeah.
And if he's only there for himself, then it sounds like it's not really the right time for you guys to be intimate. He needs to work on like intimacy between you two without that. So you can trust him again and maybe get wet for him, because right now, who would get wet for somebody who is making them have sex when they're clearly not ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a larger relationship issue than actually a sex issue. Yeah. And that's even harder to really look at because, you know, sometimes the answer is, oh, you shouldn't be with that person. And I'm not necessarily saying that we don't have enough information and that's really only for you to decide. And, you know, but I think that makes it something that you really, that makes it even more important. Like you have to get to the bottom of this to even, you know, is he unsupportive in other ways? Or I don't know. It just feels like I have a lot of questions about
what else is happening in the dynamic.
It feels to me by the question, it seems like they're focused on a lot of the logistics of life, and there's probably not a lot of intimacy going on. And sex is a great indicator about the inner workings of a relationship a lot of times, and it's a huge important piece of every relationship. Obviously, every relationship that has sex in it. And I think that sex can look like a lot of different things as well. So maybe some good advice would be to kind of sit down and with a no goal in mind conversation about sex and talk with him and kind of tell him how you feel in a way that's obviously not you did this, you're to blame, where it's coming from I'm feeling that this is really important. And we've talked about this quite a bit because and these conversations, it's not like, oh, did it once and it's going to change. Sometimes you have to have them multiple times. And I think a lot of times it's hard conversations to have, and nobody wants to feel that, their sex life is fucked up or they're not getting enough. And definitely take care of yourself. But I think a hard conversation needs to happen. And masturbation's okay. The wetness piece too, if you're not getting wet, there could be other things. Sometimes I don't get wet, but I'm super horny, or sometimes I'm super wet and I don't want to have sex at all. So that's like, okay, there could be hormonal shifts. I just think that you have
especially
a lot
after
going on.
A couple kids and stuff like that. Yeah.
And they just had a kid.
Weird.
So I think that if I could say anything that's really important about this relationship and what to do, which would probably work is sit down and start to identify what is important sexually, really, and take the time for each other, because it sounds like the logistics with the children and the work are going to kill it. And when there's all this pressure for one day a week thing to have sex, that's too much pressure for anyone, and nobody needs that.
But it's not even about that. It's about that is one-sided.
And
it's not even a question of how do we find time for each other. It's that it's a one-sided thing where sex is like you said, for him and not for her. And she's asking, how do we get on the same wavelength? And agreeing with what you're saying, April. But it's a fucking hard conversation. You say you're frustrated. You say that you're hurt or you're whatever is going on for you, and you be really, really clear about how this actually feels for you and what it's. How it's showing up for you and what you're really wanting and where you're putting your fucking foot down.
Maybe they need to open up their relationship.
Or go get some help. You to go find a therapist or someone. If it's a scary conversation, you feel like you can't have it with them, then go have someone else that can support you.
A sex coach too, or a sex coach.
Yeah.
A coach is easier to pitch than a therapist, at least in a lot of people's worlds. So if you say, hey, I want more tools for our sexual tool belt, let's meet this sex coach online or in person if you have access. That's safer for a lot of people. They don't feel like they're going to a therapist and getting psychological advice.
Yeah.
Although, dude, no shame in going to couples therapy.
I love it.
With my dude for 14 years, we've done it.
Yeah.
You fucking you need it.
We have too. It's been so important.
It's really important.
I think don't have the conversation when you're about to have sex.
Or during
sex or any time when you have scheduled sex. Like, wait and have that conversation at a more neutral time. And maybe have the conversation, it sounds like you already are, but with yourself first about like really what, get to the bottom of kind of your thoughts and what your non-negotiables are, because it feels like those are being tested a little bit. And I would be really curious to know what his response, like if he would know that she felt this way, Or
would he be like,
do you know what I
"Oh,
mean?
I
Would he
didn't
be like,
know."
oh my God, I had
Yeah.
no idea?
Or he'd be like, "You're fucking crazy,"
Yeah.
or like, "That's
It
not what's happening," or
sounds-
"Too bad."
Yeah, I mean, it's always
don't know.
hard, but we don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't
There's
have the
a-
answers to
yeah.
that. I'm sure that, who knows? There could be a lot of love there, and everything else could be hunky dory in the rest of the world.
But
and
that
me,
might be telling for her.
Yeah, we
like
don't
in
know.
his
There's
response.
levels to this shit.
Yeah.
And we're not like, we don't know. They
Yeah.
they have 4 kids, right? It's like a whole thing.
There's a lot going on there.
We're not trying to be like
Yeah.
making a decision about your relationship by reading one email.
Yeah, we
But
don't know.
certainly all we care about is you being protected and in a good place.
Yeah, taking care of
And-
your body.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it sounds like your body right now isn't being taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because you love him, there's a couple things that you haven't been viewing through the lens of like, oh, my own safety, my own happiness.
And it is nearly impossible to get on the same wavelength or frequency all the time with your partner, especially if you don't spend a lot of time together. That's real. I struggle with that, getting on the same wavelength or frequency with my partner when I travel, and then I come home, and then I'm,
Same.
my head, and then we have to sync back up, and then right when we get synced backed up, and I'm like, oh my God, our sex is amazing, we're connected. I leave, and then I come back, and then we're like, it's the same fucking cycle, and I'm like, how do we break this? And it just takes time, and it takes the energy of the sit down and like okay, how can we sync back up? And I'm feeling this way, and how do you feel? And it's a journey. I wish there was a switch that could be like, flick.
Yeah.
Then we wouldn't have a job.
It's true.
We would be unemployed. Okay, so let's wrap this up with just some fun, playful, rapid fire questions.
Ooh.
Okay,
What's your favorite color? Just kidding.
No, not that one. Where is the most wild or interesting place that you've had sex?
Ooh.
I used to have a thing for car parking lots. Yeah, like big box stores. It's so weird. Airports. For a while,
Inside the airport?
it's so dirty. I know.
In
Yeah,
the bathroom?
bathrooms, airport parking lots. It was just weird.
Going to the airport or like getting off the plane?
Well, I had a long distance boyfriend in my early 20s, and so that was like a whole
That's fun.
stage. But
like
I jerked a guy off. Same guy. I jerked this guy off in like a Macy's downtown Minneapolis. Like right,
Wow.
it was kind of a
Where,
like I
your dressing
maybe
room?
wanted to be seen. I don't know.
Oh,
You know, like-
exhibitionism.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think at like, our move, me and my man's was like in the beginning of our relationship, just having sex at people's houses during parties and stuff. And then just coming
Oh,
back
really?
into the party.
That's fun.
Like, I just had sex in
namely
your
his
bed.
parents' house.
Yeah. Also, we would do it at his parents' house. We would do it at just friends' houses. And then his mom later was like, yeah, we knew. I was like,
I like it.
What are your favorite sexual positions?
I wish I could look at you with a straight face and be like reverse cowgirl. No, I like my legs over my head.
Airplane style?
Yeah,
Happy baby?
I think happy baby. Maybe.
they
Is that
hit
what it's
something
called?
in that right spot when.
Yeah, I also like it from behind, doggy style.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. And I also like a good side guy. When you're
Oh.
just both laying on your side.
I-
And you
I
can
don't always
maneuver
think
the
of that
legs
one.
and stuff.
What's on your sexual bucket list that you've never done that you really want to do?
Ooh.
I haven't really had. This is so weird to say when I'm in a monogamous relationship, but I haven't had really any group sex. And I think there's a possibility that we might do that together at some point. It's not like a plan right now, but I'm definitely open to the possibility.
You have a little exhibitionism.
Yeah, you do.
exhibitionism,
Yeah.
so it's
I
totally up
would
your alley.
100% go to a sex party and like fuck there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I am just nervous, knowing myself mostly, not even anything to do with him, but just nervous about like the idea of another person because it is a whole nother set of wants and desires, and things can go wrong and whatever. But I like the idea of it.
I think I'd want to, like I'm also in a monogamous relationship. I think I'd probably want to have like a threesome with me and him and another woman. And I mean, I've had threesomes before, but not with my husband. So I think that would be cool. But I also feel like, one, he would never go for it. And two, like, I don't know, it might also be freaky. Like when you open up a relationship that's like, you're like, I thought we're all on solid ground, you know, and then you're like, wait, did I just fuck this up?
Is it more complicated now?
Yeah, like I don't know. So
you monogamous?
that's what I'm worried.
Yeah, I'm in a monogamous relationship. We've talked about exploring other things and opening it up. We just are trying to build the strong foundation. We've only been together a little over 2 years, so there's just a lot of work to be done before I start to explore. And I have insecurities like anyone else, and I am a very confident human, but I do have insecurities. I mean, it's almost impossible, I think, for most people not to in some level. So that being said, it's not ever, I'm not a hard no. I'm like a not right now, and perhaps in the future.
That's how I feel too. And I've also been with my partner for just over 3 years, and I feel like give us a few years and catch us on maybe like a wild night.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be something that I would want to do like on a regular basis. I don't think so, but I think I might like
Dabble.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make it in the friend zone either. I don't want any of my friends to be involved because
No, it has to be a stranger.
yeah, and that's something that I think is harder because when we leave town together, a lot of times we're with his family or something, and so it hasn't been really in the cards. So maybe we'll talk in a year or something, and I'll be like, oh, guess what?
Little check-in.
Finally did it. Finally did it.
it.
All right, last question. How do people find you and your podcast and your
that's
information?
Ooh, good question.
The most important one.
5 stars.
Yeah, we're Private Parts Unknown. We're at privatepartsunknown.com. You can get us wherever you get podcasts.
We're Private Parts Unknown on IG, and we're Private Parts on Twitter.
Fucking Twitter, that character.
Just won't let us have the whole fucking
Oh, you couldn't have
word.
a known.
No,
Annoying.
Oh, you can't have a known.
you
we
go
could
by-
have had like Unk.
Yeah.
Like, what's Unk?
Weird.
Do you guys go by PPU sometimes?
We call
each
we-
other.
to each other. We definitely
But
say
I don't
PPU.
think other people do it.
So we're not going to go with that.
No.
Private Parts Unknown, everyone.
Yeah, check them out on iTunes. We were just on their episode too, and it was really fun. I had a good time chatting with you all.
We love,
We love you guys.
Other
This was
podcasters.
so fun.
This was so fun. Yeah, check out the A side, and this B side was a blast.
I know, right? And we love all of you listeners. Remember to check out marginswine.com. We're drinking a Mouvedre. It's a really nice Mouvedre glass of Mouvedre. I brought you all some too. There's actually in my bag.
Ooh, hello.
I know. So you
Luke
can
and
check that
wine.
out. She makes small batch boutique wines. Amy and I have loved it now for almost 2 years, going on strong. And you have to see why. Go to marginswine.com. You may or may not be able to get some wine, but get on the mailing list so you can have first access. And we love you. If you love us just as much as we love you, give us 5 stars on iTunes. It just helps more people become part of the shameless sex revolution. All right, y'all. We will see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.